here? You ever notice that the information that we're being fed doesn't always add up to the truth? Do you ever look out your window at night when the rain's falling down? You ever look down the street and wonder what is going on around you? You ever look out at night and ask yourself, is this all that I am? Where am I? What am I? Is this all there is? Is this real life? As technology continues to bring us closer together, it also tears us further apart. We watch the skies and look at the planet around us and its natural beauty as it continues to march forward on and on and on, unending, unceasing, unwavering. And yet our world, everything that we've built, crumbles around us. We wonder, is this it? Is there more? There's got to be. We can search. We want to learn. We want to understand. We want to see all that we can see, know all that we can know. We want to look out there. We want to peek behind the veil. We want to ask the questions that nobody will answer. We want to light those fires, the sparks that ignite a curiosity in us. And we ask ourselves, what is out beyond all of that? Beyond the edge of reality. Good evening.
Good. That is a dope intro.
It took me a while to put that one together, that's for sure.
That's nice. I don't even have an intro, so I'm giving you claps on that one.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a. I still have, and I am my worst critic. I am so nitpicky about things, but I gotta say, it's a nice little thing we do there. Kind of build that suspense.
Yeah, that's neat.
Yeah, well, I got to do something with this, films and whatnot design degree.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Anywho, what is up, everybody? Hey, chat. How y'all doing? It's Kaiser and special guest star Flux in the house.
What's up, y'all? Mocha Dick Pood, XOXO fully adjustable, blow for freedom. What's up, chat? You know I love you guys.
Well, you gotta throw some loin fire on the end of that one.
I forgot we have to add the loin fire. Oh, Lord. And pre-trial, because I love Alex Manning so much.
Pre-trial loin fire?
Yes! Oh my God, that's got to go in there. Okay, that's going to be after the blow for freedom pre-trial loin fire. You heard it here. That's the new addition to the phrase. Good Lord. It's getting so
it's a
long.
good night. All right. Well, folks, thank you so much for joining us. It is Wednesday. You know what that means. It is time for Edge of Reality, where we cover some of the weird, the unexplained, and just the downright mysterious. And could not pick a better mystery for tonight's stream than the Miracle of Fatima.
Yeah, I didn't know this was an actual documented historical event. I thought it was just one of those like, oh, this thing happened, ooh, but this is actually a recorded historical event.
Tens of thousands of onlookers witnessed this event that was prophesied by 3 children in Portugal in the middle of freaking nowhere. And what's even more interesting is that they were given 3 prophecies, 2 of which have already come through, and the third, the Vatican's mysteriously withheld.
So I did a little bit of research today because I'm like, talking on this, I should know a little bit more than just it was a thing that happened. And one account said that there was over 100,000 people that were said to have seen this event.
Yep.
And I'm like, holy shit. And, sorry, I will try and limit my cursey words.
We're over 6 minutes. You're good.
Oh, is that the rule now?
I think, they keep going back and forth, so we just kind of go by the 6-minute rule.
Oh, okay. I just always figure that none of my videos will get monetized anyways, so I'm like, I I don't care. But actually, only 2 of my videos aren't monetized, which I'm like, holy shit. How have only 2 of them not been monetized? I would have figured it was like literally my whole playlist, but that's besides the point.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then this other video I heard, I can't. They did release the third prophecy. However, it's debated whether or not to be real.
Yep, there's definitely some mystery there, and we're gonna definitely dip into that because some of the major questions and detraction around the fourth prophecy or the third prophecy comes from none other than Father Malachi Martin. Now, if you've never heard of Father Malachi Martin, I could do an entire stream, probably a series, just on this guy alone. This guy was the Indiana Jones of the Catholic Church.
Can I
Yeah.
tell you, when I was stationed in Korea, I met he was probably my age, so probably mid-20s, a dude whose name was Indiana Jones. Showed
Nice.
me his license. His name was Indiana Jones. He said his parents were a big fan and he was super disappointed in them. But yeah, sorry. Proceed.
Oh, that's fine. You could. I always think if that was the case, then I would just actually kind of take the joke a step further, and then just try and either get people to actually call me Henry, or take that a step further and actually change my legal first name to that, because Henry Jones Jr. was
Right.
Indiana Jones's actual name.
Right?
Yep.
And I was
We
like,
named the dog Indiana.
I was like, bro, why didn't you become like an archaeologist? He was like,
Nah.
man, come on,
I would
dude.
get laughed out of the room.
Right? But yes. So yeah, if it's the Vatican, it's shady.
Oh, very. And we'll definitely talk about that real quick. Let's go around the room. Let's see who we got here. Say hello to everybody. And so first up, Tweety US News. How you doing? Good to see you, Tweety. And the lovely Impish, my amazing producer. Thank you so much for everything you do, Impish. And let's see here, Belandris. I blame Mighty Meat. Yeah, we all do, but it's okay. Dazzer, what's going on, buddy? And
What's up?
Gigi Beauchamp, right? Yeah, we were talking about this stream in Vice's chat this morning, so we're glad to have you here. This is going to be a fun one.
Cooking and lurking.
Yeah. Say, that's a good thing to be doing. I usually do that a lot during Aussie streams.
Yeah. I do that a lot. Like, it depends on my day, because sometimes I can like jump in and out of chat for a few minutes, and sometimes it's like I'll jump in just once every like hour.
Right. And Sean D, TBD, bro, your TV's on fire. Well, it's kind of my thing for this stream that the lights have got to be off, and I got to have some kind of interesting graphic. I decided that the lightning storm was a little bit too blasé this particular stream. So, given the themes of the evening, I decided to go with fire.
Fuego.
Yeah. All right, and Barbara Vance. Hey everyone, just got my update. Good to hear you. That glad you're here. And let's see. JSDs, what's up? Mexican Vader in the house. Sounds like this will be a fun stream. Absolutely.
What's up, Mexican Vader?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, gotta buckle in for this one.
And how could I forget Jude Curio? How you doing, Jude?
What's up, Jude? Hey, Jude.
Hey, Jude. All right. I'm pretty sure she hates it whenever I do that, but oh well.
That is like one of my I love that song. I love how it starts in slow and then like comes in at the end.
That's what she said. Oh, goodness. So, yep, I will try to keep the weird clips and everything like that to a minimum, obviously, because I definitely want to make sure to build the suspense around everything. But there is a couple of them that just kind of seem to really definitely seem appropriate for this kind of show. But first things first, for the evening, guys, I see we have currently 14 watching over on YouTube. Don't forget, if you have an opportunity, go over there and definitely hit the like on the Rumble stream as well, because we are live on Rumble as well. Feel free to drop a little like and a little bit of comment for the algorithm, because we want to grow our platforms on all channels and don't want to be beholden to any one particular thing, although we're totally going to be okay with YouTube being and whatnot, because we like being here. We like monetization, and we like our channel not being shadow banned. Anyway, if you haven't already done it there, with the 14 of you that actually are hanging out right now, please definitely hit that like button, because, it's what we do.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, we have a whole thing here. Say, this is your first time.
No. For the Edge of Reality, yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, before we get into the actual story of the evening, we'll obviously play the Bork Files, but, yeah.
Nice.
That's something for as we go down the line.
Nice.
And excellent. Good to see there. And waiting for a confirmation on if we're ready backstage or not. There we go.
What's up, Mighty?
Hey,
Good
Flux.
to see you, Mighty.
How you doing? Have we ever actually spoken before?
No. First time.
This is our first time.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Hi.
Yeah, a lot of
I feel
firsts
like I
tonight.
know you, though.
I know, doesn't it? It
Right?
seems like, we've, feels like we streamed together before, but no, I don't think we have.
Maybe we've opened secret portals and been like friends in that secret life before or something.
Yeah, I mean,
The more of us LawTube adjacent folks I come across, the more I'm convinced that somehow we all secretly know each other and have just kind of always been there. It's weird.
alternative dimension.
Yeah,
Yep.
there you go.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best thing to explain that one.
We're
I
all
have to-
colleagues in an archaeology project trying to dig up a dinosaur in Dimension 48. So,
That's awesome.
yep.
I have to admit that I almost, because of the Joe Rogan podcast today, I almost scrapped this entire show and did something entirely different.
I didn't get to listen to the show. How was it?
Okay, I have been absolutely just neck deep in the UFO study and actually getting into the the actual trying to decode the science and actually go for the facts for years now, sift through the bullshit kind of stuff.
Yeah.
His show today, I have not had a mind blower like that since, I would say, probably the Bob Lazar show.
Wow.
And I will. We're gonna definitely. We're coming soon. We're gonna be talking about that. We're gonna do a little bit of our own deep dive on the Varginha, Brazil UFO crash. It was the Roswell of Brazil.
Oh.
And what's even crazier, it happened in 1996.
Huh.
And there were
Wow.
actual recovered live beings, supposedly, from this crash. And one soldier who supposedly captured one, grabbed it with his bare hands, later died only a few days later of a strange, unknown infection that just ravaged his body almost overnight.
I've heard that's a commonality. On the archaeologist thing, real quick, before it leaves my brain, if multiverse theory is accurate, then we indeed are archaeologists working together trying to dig up a dinosaur because everything's possible and everything has ever happened in the human existence.
Exactly.
Let me try and blow your mind one more time. Bob Lazar famously said that at least one of the craft that he worked on was found in an archaeological dig. And these craft, supposedly, if they run on the same propulsion system that he thought of, or that he basically says that they run off of, which is a gravity-driven propulsion system that runs off of this element 115, time, space, and dimension is completely broken with this technology. So, who's to say that we couldn't just be, archaeologists that dug up a UFO, took it for a test drive, and then suddenly got dropped here and is like forgot where the fuck we were from.
And like we had these like memories just implanted in our brains if something had gone some catastrophe had happened. Holy shit.
Because they famously, unsubstantiated, obviously, but according to Lazar, there was a unscheduled nuclear test at S4 only a few months to even a year before he arrived. And according to his lab partner, they tried to cut into one of the reactors that was on this thing to try and see what made it tick, and it blew up.
Huh.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, I need to get more on. I've never been much into like the UFO stuff. I'm more on like the government, like technology conspiracy side of things. And so when I hear all this alien shit, I'm like, damn, I need to get on my game because what?
Oh,
like I'm totally like the AI's already taking over. Oh yeah, I'm ahead of that shit. Like, everything's a psyop. Yep, know that. But like aliens?
Oh, well, this show's got you covered. Everything from ancient religious prophecies to alternate dimensional travel, artificial intelligence, and, time travel, alternate dimensions, and, the paranormal.
Well, we live in a simulation, and I think that
we live in the Matrix.
I've been very clear on that, and
I have heard that.
Proved it. But.
Oh, I've proved it. The whole double black cat thing that legitimately happened to me.
Awesome.
I have a stray black cat that lives. It's adopted us, so it lives out front. One morning, I opened the door, and she was duplicated, and I was like, she was sitting there, and her duplicate was sitting like 2 feet behind her. I took a picture of it and everything. I'm like, what the actual fuck is happening? And then I closed the door because I fed her, like I was feeding her. I put her food down and I went inside. And then like 15 minutes later, it was just her again. I'm not even shitting you. I was like calling to Mrs. Flex. I'm like, it's happening. Yeah. Never saw it again. But I have the picture. I'll post it on YouTube. My receipt,
wow.
Or I mean on Instagram or one of the social things.
One of those things.
We'll just got to get you on Discord. We got to get you on there.
Oh yeah, I got to get one of those too.
Yeah.
So yeah, folks, if you don't already know, me and Mighty all actually have our own Discords where you can look at and post all kinds of stuff. We have a kind of a really cool community we're working on building. So definitely go hit up the link tree in the pinned comment, and you can find the link to my Discord, and you can join up and hang out with this delightful bunch of degenerates that we hang out with.
Mine's called the Meat Market.
Oh, I love that. That's funny.
And mine is Kaiser's Pineapple Express Lounge.
Haha, I like that.
So, all right.
Mine would probably be called House of Flux.
It makes perfect sense.
Consistent, yeah.
Ooh, maybe it could be like
Sean D. Flux, you almost have to have a Discord. As a content creator, it's almost necessary.
It is.
Yeah.
How
do you think I announce my shows?
I do it on Twitter.
I do Twitter and I do on the Discord.
Oh.
Helps get the word out.
Yeah.
Oh, well, fine. I'll make a thingy after this.
Well, hey, if you ever need help, you just let us know. We'll get it going for you.
Will do.
And Chandler Remington in the chat. What's going on, Chandler?
What's up, Chandler?
You know it. I'm always flexing around.
Absolutely. I say it's almost requirement, you know?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, with that, I say I think we've had adequate time to get everybody settled in and kind of get a few things ironed out. So, without further ado, how about we go ahead and get into the mystery of the Miracle of Fatima? And now, our intro within an intro.
Oh my god.
Flux, you gotta look. You gotta look like.
Looks like I picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
Oh Lord.
I think you have more clips than I do.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's kind of my thing. I kind of always had this like thing in my head of like I was, you know, as a kid I kind of wanted to be like one of those like radio shock jocks, but then eventually, you know, the age of the internet came around and I could actually have video including sound effects, and so you know, thus this happened.
And you're too damn wholesome to be a shock jock.
You really don't know me that well, then.
Bro, like, I've got yelled at every time I've come on the show because I've said something that I shouldn't have.
Yeah, that gets me into a lot of trouble too, because things that I think in my brain, when they come out of my mouth, they sound so much worse than like how my brain made it sound.
Oh, I know mine are bad. I'm just, most of the time I'm trying to needle Kaiser somehow. So, like,
It's okay.
You gotta ruffle the feathers, you know?
Yeah, it is kind of a thing. It's what we do.
You love me for it, don't lie.
Lord, I had no idea, because that only came out of one side. I was like, what the fuck? I'm pretty sure if you rewind it, my reaction would be like, what is that shit?
The fuck? Oh my. Anyway, sorry, Barbara Vance. Apparently, I'm making her parrot bark.
Wait a minute, what?
Because I think the dog intro.
Yeah,
Parrot bark? Do parrots bark? Did I miss
they
something?
can mimic sounds.
Yeah, I believe parrots could bark pretty easy because they can talk really easy.
Yeah, it's fascinating that, you know, parrots don't have vocal cords like you and I do. They actually have like these two little organs like on the side of their neck.
Is that how they do it?
That they vibrate like tambourines.
Huh.
And that somehow by manipulating those, like, you know, the airways and everything, they can mimic sounds like better than a lot of
because that's true. They don't have like they don't have lips, so they can't make like, you know, obviously we need to make, you know, sounds with our lips and our tongue, and they just have that little beak.
It's also part of the reason why whenever parrots talk, they have that kind of almost tinny sort of like quality, like they're coming through like an old speaker.
Huh.
Yeah, I never. Interesting.
Yep. More random facts that are scattered about my brain. But don't ask me what I had for breakfast this morning because I can't remember.
I have my book of unusual knowledge. So, I love random facts.
Yeah, Barbara Vance says, yes, my parrot can bark, purr, etc. He even calls the cats, here, kitty, kitty.
See, I feel like that would be terrifying. Because, like, in the middle of the night, like, let's say your parrot is just like, here, kitty. Like, I feel like that would be terrifying. And I've seen a video of the cops getting called to this one dude's house because he's outside working on his car, and his parrot's inside his house screaming, let me out, and is crying. And people called the cops on him. And so he goes in, and he had to show him, no, it's just my parrot because I left him inside.
Yeah, there's a friend of mine has a parrot, and yeah, there was one time where I guess him and his girlfriend, they decided to stay up, and they were watching like a horror movie, and it was past the bird's bedtime. The bird basically, I mean, because the cage is like right over there, they usually puts a blanket over it and whatnot, and so they were up late watching a horror movie. And specifically, they were watching, like, I think it was Halloween.
Ugh.
And so,
Great movie.
yeah, everything was fine. The girlfriend left for home, and he went to bed and, like, covered the cage up. And then, like, I think he said probably within about, like, he had just started to drift off to sleep when he started actually hearing the like the piano music from
oh god,
it was like from the movie, and it was the parrot.
oh god, yeah, nope. Mm-mm.
Chandler, my ex had a talking bird that would look like he was sleeping, and I'd walk by in the middle of the night, and he'd go, "What you doing?"
See, no,
Scared the bejesus out of me.
I couldn't.
no,
I have no chill where
no.
that's concerned.
No, that's terrible.
Nope, I'm good.
Just need a parrot that'll, in the middle of the night, if you walk by, just go, "Surprise, motherfucker!"
God, I would love that
Yeah.
bird.
So I was gonna open up to a page and read like just whatever I opened up to, but the page I opened up to, YouTube doesn't like. So
Oh, this is a great channel to do it on then.
why did the Nazis keep a record of the Holocaust? That's literally the
Oh.
page I opened up to.
Well, we're eventually going to be doing an episode on some the occult and the and some of what they used to do.
9.
10.
Yahtzee?
Das ist gut, ja.
Twister.
Schnell my finger. Anyway, all right, we're getting way off track here, so let's go ahead and actually dive into this here. So, first off, let's kind of talk a little bit about what is the Miracle of Fatima.
I'll stop now.
It's okay, buddy. You're good.
No, I won't.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of very interesting... There's a lot of speculation on this. This is an event that happened in 1917, October 13th, 1917 to be precise.
Which, when you think about it, is not a super long time ago. It's 100 years ago.
Yeah,
Right.
105 years will be
not
this
a
year.
lot of time.
Yeah.
When you think about the time of the world.
Chandler says, if you have a Jewish guest, does YouTube give you a break just floating ideas?
I've
I've
tried that with Sleazy,
knows?
and
I mean, I'm like a quarter or something.
All right.
Yeah.
So this is where things get interesting because, yeah, less than 100 years ago, or actually just over 100 years ago, there's a lot of weirdness to this case because there were 3 prophecies that were given to these children.
3 little
2
girls.
of them, yeah, well, I realized it was 2 girls and 1 boy now.
Oh, yeah.
So, it was Lucia Santos, Francisco, and Jacinta Marto were the 3 children. Now, here's the weird part. 2 of the prophecies came true really quickly, and 2 of the siblings died. The third prophecy, which was given to the older sister, Lucia, the actual information surrounding the prophecy and whatnot, she essentially held that for years.
She said that it was too terrible to. She basically said, "This is too bad. I can't tell anybody this."
Right. So that's a very interesting little tidbit about this case. And she was the only one like that actually went on. And it wasn't until supposedly when the prophecy was supposed to begin to manifest that she died only a couple of years before that. And it was only by the prodding of her superiors that she actually wrote it down. Mm-hmm. And yeah,
that which is even about how she wrote it down is controversial.
Right. We'll get into the was it 1 page or was it 4 pages debate, because there's a lot there on that. So we're going to go ahead and throw this up on the screen. So now I kind of want to do this because this is kind of the way I usually operate is let me go out and find this information on the most readily easy to grab. Like basically, where does this information land if you just type it into your search engine, and where does it pop up? Which the answer is almost always Wikipedia. And obviously we know that Wikipedia is not necessarily the most authoritative of sources. But
really? I thought they were like the most trusted source of information in the world.
No, they're
Looks like CNN is the most trusted name in news.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
We start on the wiki. We run through the wiki, we'll look at that information, and then we branch out off into the weeds on what I've been able to find related to it. And see if we can kind of help sort out fact from fiction.
Awesome.
So, again, I kind of take it from the perspective of what is the easiest place, if you just type this mystery into Google right now or whatever, where's it going to take you? Chances are this is it. So let's see what they've got to say, and then we'll kind of parse out and figure out where does the truth lie, because I feel like oftentimes where the truth and the hyperbole sometimes where they usually meet in the center, that's where you find the truth at usually. So go ahead and bring this up here. So the Miracle of Fatima is also referred to as the Miracle of the Sun. So, Miracle of the Sun, Portuguese, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that, even though I'm kind of okay at Spanish, but that's a totally different situation. Also known as the Miracle of Fatima, is a series of events reported to have occurred miraculously on 13 October 1917, attended by a large crowd who had gathered in Fatima, Portugal. In response to a prophecy made by 3 shepherd children, that's also very interesting.
That they were shepherds, or they were walking home from tending their flock.
And there were 3 of them. The 2 that received the earlier prophecies, that came true, died. The one that received the most terrible prophecy lived later. Very fascinating little sequence of events there that not a lot of people seem to draw a connection to. There's a lot of allegory here that I think gets glossed over. And allegory and metaphor. So, anyway, the prophecy was that the Virgin Mary, referred to as Our Lady of Fatima, would appear and perform miracles on that date. Newspapers published testimony from witnesses who said that they had seen an extraordinary solar activity, such as the sun appearing to dance or zigzag in the sky, careen towards the earth, or emit multicolored light and radiant colors. According to these reports, the event lasted approximately 10 minutes. The local bishop opened a canonical investigation of the event in November 1917 to review witness accounts and assess whether the alleged private revelations from Mary were compatible with Catholic theology. The local priest conducting the investigation was particularly convinced by the concurring testimony of extraordinary solar phenomena from secular reporters.
Phenomena.
Do,
Sorry.
Do, do, do.
Phenomena.
Do, do, do,
Sorry.
Government officials and other skeptics in attendance. Bishop Jose de Silva declared the miracle worthy of belief on 13 October 1930, permitting officially the cult of Our Lady of Fatima within the Catholic Church. At a gathering on 13 October 1951 at Fatima, the papal legate, Cardinal Federico Tedeschini, told the million people attending that on October 30th, October 31st, November 1st, and November 8th, 1950, Pope Pius VII himself witnessed the miracle of the sun from the Vatican gardens. The early and enduring interest in the miracle and related prophecies has had a significant impact on the devotional practices of many Catholics. There has been much analysis of the event from critical, sociological, and scientific perspectives. According to critics, the eyewitness testimony was actually a collection of inconsistent and contradictory accounts. Proposed alternative explanations include witnesses being deceived by their senses due to prolonged staring at the sun, and then seeing something unusual as expected. So, I have heard every sort of way to dispel this, from, trying to look up at the sky and that you get that after image of the sun and you move your head and it kind of moves. I've heard that as a potential, explanation. I've heard everything.
Why would thousands of people stare at the sun that long and all do the exact same thing?
It's interesting because these three shepherd children, they have this weird experience. They tell their local priest about this. Things start happening around there that leads the priest to say, hey, I think there's something to this. Word gets out and draws thousands of people to this one spot on this one date, and something incredible and unexplained occurs on that date that has baffled scientists and skeptics and even theologians alike. That is where I find something very interesting. You have three very disparate methods of thought, and all three of them seem to concur that something happened.
Oh, yeah. Something definitely happened.
So when you have these three different, very skeptical minds coming at this from three very disparate angles, and they all claim that they did see something that just did not meet with their understanding or expectation of reality, that leads one to just kind of go, okay, this is a mass event that all happened. And it was foretold, the place and time. Okay, I have questions.
Yeah. Like, first of all, what exactly did the prophecy state? 2, why was everybody so compelled to go out there? 3, what the actual flux?
Yeah. And what's even more interesting is that if you actually do any research on the area where this occurred, this is just farm grazing land. I mean, this is the middle of nowhere in 1917.
Have you heard about stories of it, like, recently and whatnot? How, like, people take their kids there, people go and pray there for, like,
there's actually a whole, like, a holy site actually there now.
Yeah, and people are like, oh yeah, like, my daughter was supposed to die, but my mom went and stayed there for 3 days, like, on her knees praying, and my my daughter's still alive. And then like this other chick was like, my mom brought me here when I was 8 because I was about to die of like some disease, and like prayed, and I'm alive. And I'm like, what the?
There's again, it comes down to, again, it makes people ask the question. I mean, because I honestly would say one of my strong suits as a person is that despite the fact that I'm a Christian, despite the fact that I am a man of faith, I can disconnect myself entirely in my thought process from that. Because I feel like, again, I feel like there has got to be in something within the text and within scientific fact, and where they converge, I think that is where we will actually find not only truth, but something that we can agree on and understand, we can point to. Now, there are still going to be things that are unexplained, and I think that just creates a wonderful mystery, the like of which I enjoyed looking at. Because mysteries are meant to be studied. I find that little bit of human curiosity is kind of a big motivator. But yeah, I like to disconnect myself entirely from the situation and just kind of go, okay, forget emotion, forget my feelings, forget, my faith on certain issues. What are the actual facts? What do we have happening here, and how can we come at this from an angle of trying to figure this out? I'm not willing to throw out any ideas until literally I have definitive proof that it didn't actually happen.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Isabel, I would say that's rationality, but I mean, it seems to be a finite quality these days.
Yeah.
So again, yeah, Dazzler, nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition. We were just talking about Monty Python before the stream, me and Flux.
I demand a shrubbery.
All right. So let's get to the background here. So this kind of sets up what happened leading up to the event. Beginning in the spring of 1916, 3 Catholic shepherd children living near Fatima reported apparitions of an angel. And starting in May 1917, apparitions of the Virgin Mary, whom the children described as the Lady of the Rosary. The children reported a prophecy that prayer would lead to an end to the Great War, and that on 13 October of that year, the Lady would reveal her identity and perform a miracle so that all may believe. Newspapers reported the prophecies, and many pilgrims began visiting the area. The children's accounts were deeply controversial, drawing intense criticism from both local secular and religious authorities. A provisional administrator briefly took the children into custody, believing the prophecies were politically motivated, in opposition to the officially secular First Portuguese Republic established in 1910. So again,
Rude.
We have a government here that's only, at this point, about 6 years old. Very young, newly formed, nation. And they're worried that in the middle of the First World War that it could be an effort to destabilize the politics of the country. So, you got to come at it from that perspective, and I do think that that grants merit to some situation with this. The event. Estimates of the number of people present range from 30,000 to 40,000 by Avanello de Almeida, writing for the Portuguese newspaper O Secular, to 100,000 estimated by lawyer Jose Alameda Garrett. Various claims have been made as to what actually happened during the event, according to many witnesses. After a period of rain, the dark clouds broke and the sun appeared as an opaque spinning disk in the sky. It was said to be significantly duller than normal and to cast multicolored lights across the landscape. The people in the surrounding clouds The sun was reported to have careened towards the earth before zigzagging back to its normal position. Witnesses reported that their previously wet clothes became suddenly and completely dry, as well as the wet and muddy ground that had previously been soaked because of the rain that had been falling. Not all witnesses reported seeing the sun dance. Some people only saw the radiant colors. Several people saw nothing. Okay.
But
I want to
like,
pause here. Is there a possibility, or is it just me, based on that information alone, maybe this is something a little bit different than just a normal religious experience? Let me read this again. The dark clouds broke and the sun appeared as an opaque, spinning disk in the sky. It was said to be significantly duller than normal and cast multicolored lights across the landscape. Okay. Also mentioned there the across the landscape, the people, and the surrounding clouds. So this was whatever this was basically a giant disco ball, but it was a disc. Anyone else drawing some interesting? Oh, I don't want to know. Does it sound like,
Don't
the
say
sun?
it. Don't say it.
I'm not saying it's aliens, but I'm saying it's
said it!
aliens.
He said it. Aliens.
I'm not saying that it's aliens, but it's by that account
I'm not
totally
saying it.
possible.
And not only that, I don't like those numbers. I'm a numbers person,
Yeah.
and the some people, several people, those aren't good numbers. That's not a good estimate for me. I don't know what some and several amount to.
Right. So yeah, Jude Giro brings up Aurora Borealis. During the daytime. That's the
And
issue with that.
with the clouds dissipating and the sun looking like a spinning disc.
That's a little odd.
That's not so much Aurora Borealis.
Yeah. Chandler Remington, they should have interviewed the people who saw nothing and asked them more questions. I agree.
Right? Like, this is...
Well, so you get into where... I'm trying to sort out my thoughts. So you get into... You look at the time period, and you look at other accounts and other things, and they were wildly exaggerated at the time. So was it just a flare, potentially? I don't, so I'll be transparent where I'm coming from. I don't buy this story, so I'm coming at it from the contrarian perspective, just personally.
And that's totally fine. I mean, I actually want to hear other people's perspectives, and I actually kind of want to, parse that out. Like, really kind of look at it from an objective, like, just perspective. Okay, something happened here. Mm-hmm. How do we explain that in, like, the best terms possible? So,
and,
I mean,
this picture over here, this is a picture from the event.
Right.
That's a lot of people.
Oh, yeah, I do have more
and
pictures.
That's not even that's not even all of it. But I'm just like, that's a lot of people. Something happened. Now, whether or not it was a solar eclipse with a lightning strike.
There we go.
Something happened.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or was it, the church is notorious for having huge
Look at all these people.
following. Right.
Yeah,
so if there's a Virgin Mary announced, or, like, I remember that was a big thing. There was the Virgin Mary statue that was
Oh,
bleeding or whatever.
yeah.
There were people lined up for days there.
Yeah, that was supposedly like drinking milk or something like that. It turned out it was
It
just
was like
running
leaking
down.
milk or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, they were, I guess, giving the statue drinks, and it was actually like running down part of the statue. Is how they figured it out.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember that. Gets a little bit more weird when the statues start bleeding from the eyes, but that, I'm sure there's an explanation for that.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I mean, it just, again, this is one of the pictures from the actual event. This was taken at the event at the time.
That's a lot of people.
So, I mean, you can see actual definition. I mean, these are people all the way across this hill. There's people all the way over
And
here
you
in
can
these trees. I mean, this is a sea of people.
And you can definitely see, well, I don't know if that's probably just the lighting of the old photos. Some people are covering their eyes and some people are just staring directly at it.
Yeah.
Or towards the sky, rather.
Yep. I mean, it does beg the question, like, I mean, these people are obviously, they saw something. What did they see? So,
Ooh.
I'll go ahead and throw a couple more pictures up here.
I just had a theory.
Magnetic storm. January
What
25th,
if this is just before World War II, right?
This is actually during World War One.
What if they were testing
a nuke?
A nuclear bomb, and they wanted to explain it away to the people as to not cause panic and all of that stuff. And they just detonated it really high up in the atmosphere, like when they first started testing, because Operation Fishbowl was they're like, oh, let's see what happens when we explode nukes up high in the atmosphere.
Well,
yeah,
Meaty, maybe you can shed some light on this. When was the first actual nuclear test? Or atomic test? The Manhattan Project, I believe.
Manhattan Project, but I'm not entirely sure on the dates, but I can look.
It would make sense the government would collude with the church to try and
Explain it
the
away.
people.
Right.
Yeah, so good thought, but that's what I thought. I thought it was longer than that. July 16th, 1945 was Trinity.
Trinity was 1945. This happened 1917.
Yeah, so it was 28 years prior.
28 years before the first nuclear device was ever even invented.
I mean,
now, could it be some other kind of bomb?
It wouldn't be unheard of for, them to be testing some super amazing new bomb and then some other government to come in and take out them before that bomb is ever further used.
Yeah, and I mean,
right.
My only question, or my only real, I guess you could say, the only reason I would kind of like detract from that idea is given aviation technology at the time, because aviation's a big pastime of mine. Mm-hmm. I mean, these were people that had like, very basic, aircraft. They could only go like maybe 1,000 or 2,000 feet.
Or is that what they want you to think?
Well, that's again, I'm sitting here thinking about this from a perspective of, okay, what is like, if that is true,
mm-hmm.
what did they have like as the most advanced technology that we know of at the time? And the airplane was already being used on, in World War I. But I mean, again, you're talking about basically a couple of, bundles of, lumber and canvas that could somehow manage to get themselves airborne.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Mexican Vader says, the thing that gets me is that it was prophesized a few months in advance to the exact date and time by a kid, no less.
That's the thing! That's why I'm like, it's got to be something involved with the government and some type of experiment. Because how was it prophesied? But then...
Early MK Ultra?
And this is just the first event. The fact that there are two other prophecies with two other... So we
later came true, yeah.
Yeah. So, like, I have my serious, but like, I mean, unless it is a government conspiracy, which, I mean, it's not the first time government's doing things against their own people to kind
No.
of concoct a story about the government and the religion.
So this is actually a newspaper from the event, and it is in Portuguese, so don't ask me to read it.
Hey, can you read that for me?
You stop being a bigot and learn Portuguese real quick so you can read that? Jesus.
But like those are photos those are actual photos, and it's like
From the event, yeah.
again, something definitely took place that day.
It was.
Tech at the time was very primitive.
I mean,
Prophecy
you saw
has
how
been
good
around
those
forever.
photos were.
Yeah.
And people were much more shit, maybe they weren't. I was gonna say gullible, but people are still gullible. So
I was gonna say, why don't we have any cool prophecies today? I mean, we've had a couple like, oh, the world's gonna end, but like obviously the world has not ended. But like
Yeah.
good, like cool, weird prophecies.
yeah.
Well, I
don't
mean,
know.
the Dead Sea Scrolls and the some of the other. Let's see, we have no
That-
actual confirmation that this third
That-
prophecy didn't already come true, so it could still be active.
That's true. And I was gonna say a lot of the biblical prophecies, according to like the end times, those are starting to look pretty accurate. So never mind. I
Yeah.
take it back.
Especially when you consider some of what Sister Lucia later said
Oh my
the
god, I
third
know,
prophecy contained,
right?
because there's some very
Pointed.
when
Wait
you
a minute,
start
what?
to, so the actual third prophecy, we'll dig into it in a bit, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. But the actual third prophecy, the text of the third prophecy, according to Sister Lucia, is very fascinating because it kind of seems like there's some movement going on in the modern world to that equivalent. We'll definitely parse that out, but real quick, let's kind of do a little bit of a
You are fake news.
let's see. Let's talk about let me find the actual article I'm looking for. All right, so there is an actual account in this story from Father De Marchi. Father John De Marchi was an Italian Catholic priest and researcher. De Marchi spent 7 years in Fatima from 43 to 50 conducting research and interviewing the principles at length. The Immaculate Heart, 1952. De Marchi reported that their ranks were present on 13 October, including believers and non-believers, pious old ladies and scoffing young men. Hundreds of these mixed categories have been given formal testimony. Reports do vary. Impressions are in minor details confused, but none to our knowledge has directly denied the visible prodigy of the sun. That's interesting. De Marchi authored several books on the subject, such as The True Story of Fatima, which included a number of witness descriptions, and there are actually some that they've compiled here for us. The sun at one moment surrounded with scarlet flame, at another aureoled. It's kind of basically a way of saying something is around it, like ringing it, in yellow and deep purples, seemed to be in an exceedingly swift and whirling movement, at times appearing to be loosened from the sky and to be approaching the earth, strongly radiating heat. Domingos Pinto Coelho, writing to the Catholic newspaper Ordem. The silver sun enveloped in the same gauzy gray light. It was seen to whirl and turn in a circle of broken clouds. The light turned to a beautiful blue, as if to come through a stained glass windows of a cathedral, and spread itself over the people who knelt with outstretched hands. People wept and prayed with uncovered heads in the presence of the miracle they had awaited. The seconds seemed like hours, so vividly were they? That was from reporter of the Lisbon newspaper Odia. So,
Okay, so obviously it was swamp gas. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
So this is Southern Hemisphere, so you can see the Magellanic Cloud from the Southern Hemisphere. So it is potential that it could have been shining off a planetary body or the moon in the right spot, and you saw the belt of the galaxy, the Magellanic Cloud, because that's what the Magellanic Cloud looks like. If I were to describe it.
But would that be visible during the day, though?
In the right light, it could be. That's what I'm saying. Planetary alignment, you could have shine off a planet or moonshine that would cause you to see it more clearly. Trying to think of how I would prove or disprove that.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to poke holes. I'm just actually asking a questions there because I'm just thinking, okay.
Crazier things have happened. We've
Right.
seen things like Mars during the day.
Yes, that is true. I do remember when that happened.
Yeah, you can see the moon during the day a
Yeah.
lot of times. So
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, obviously, there is possibility there.
yeah.
Let's see.
I did good, Kaiser. Kaiser, I
Huh?
did good. I did good, Kaiser. Kaiser, I did good.
Yeah, you did fine. I like to throw all ideas onto the table and just kick it around the office, so to speak. So the sun's disk did not remain immobile. This was not the sparkling of a heavenly body, for it spun round it on itself in a mad whirl, and then suddenly a clamor was heard from all the people. The sun, whirling, seemed to loosen itself from the firmament and advance threateningly upon the earth as if to crush us with its huge fiery weight. The sensation during those moments was terrible. Demarchi attributes this description to Almeida Garrett, professor of natural sciences at Coimbra University. Theologian Father Stanley L. Jackie wrote that it was actually given by Jose Almeida Garrett, a young lawyer, and is often mistakenly attributed to his father, a professor of natural sciences at the university, named Golcano de Almeida Garrett.
Cool.
So there is there's a number of these very strange accounts. Let's see. Sean D says, the idea of a chemical chain reaction was first suggested in 1913 by German chemist Max Bodenstein.
Well, there
Okay,
you go.
entirely possible. All right. So there's a lot of this, and yeah, they get into some of these skeptical explanations, kind of try to dig into that a little bit there. I mean, we're already an hour and 5 minutes in, so I don't want to dwell too much because I think there's a lot more interesting things to happen or to bring up besides just the event itself. Because the event is important, but the event is just more or less a display.
Mm-hmm.
It's more of just a show for the actual what happened.
Right.
So, let's see. So, there's that.
I
Take that
do
down.
have to get going shortly. I got like 15 more minutes.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and kind of do a little bit here because there's a very interesting little bit here about Father Malachi Martin. Father Malachi Martin is kind of, as I mentioned, the sort of the Indiana Jones of the Catholic Church of his day.
Mm-hmm.
This guy did a lot. Archaeology, he was a demonologist, he was a actual sanctioned exorcist for the church, and had a number of very, very wild tales. The guy wrote a number of fascinating books, and one of them, of course, being on this event. So, grabbed a kind of a short little video here. It kind of explains a little bit about his involvement. And we'll go ahead and play that for you all just to kind of give you a little bit of a short little introduction into this guy and what he was doing. Let me grab that. Okay. There we go.
In this video, we share Father Malachi Martin and the Fatima...
Oop, I had it on 2x speed because I watch all my videos pretty much at 2x speed.
Nice.
Secrets. Will the prophecies of Fatima be fulfilled in our time? The secrets of Fatima continue to call us all to conversion. Sister Lucy asked Our Lady of Fatima on June 1917 if they, the 3 children, would be taken to heaven. She said, "Yes, I will take Jacinta and Francisco soon. But you are to stay here some longer time. Jesus wishes to make use of you to make me known and loved. He wants to establish in the world a devotion to my Immaculate Heart. And I promise salvation to those who embrace it." Our Lady gave these 3 children 3 secrets. The first was a vision of hell, the second was World War. I would end, but a worse war will break out in the reign of Pius XI, and the third would be made known before 1960. Interestingly, Pope Pius XI was not the Pope at that time, and he became Pope 5 years later in 1922. Our Lady knew who was going to be the Pope at the start of World War II and what his name would be. How did she know this? Chance does exist when God wills it, and it is only through Our Lady that God's will is spoken. Pope John XXIII became Pope long after Pius XI and should have known all of this. Father Malachi Martin was given the privilege of reading the 3rd secret of Fatima because he was highly esteemed by Pope John XXIII. Father Martin was grieved by Pope John's decision to suppress the 3rd secret, and he longed to reveal its contents to the world. He was prevented from doing so by the oath of secrecy that had been required of him. Pope John felt if he published the secret it would ruin, at the time, negotiations with Nikita Khrushchev, the boss of the Russians. And in a speech on October 11, 1962, in St. Peter's to an assembly of bishops who had come to the Vatican Council, he derided contemptuously the people he called prophets of doom. And there was no doubt in any of our minds he was talking about the 3 children of Fatima. Father Martin said, the release of the 3rd secret would be a shock that will jolt people and fill the confessionals. This will fill up the cathedrals and the basilicas and the churches with worshippers, kneeling down and striking their breasts. The reason for the mission to establish in the world a devotion to my Immaculate Heart of Mary failed can be blamed on the Church. Even the popes, for reasons, suppressed, downplayed and misrepresented the Fatima message. Sister Lucy was silenced by all the popes, so she wasn't able to make known a devotion to Our Lady's Immaculate Heart. It became difficult to do this when she was denied to speak publicly by her superiors. The Fatima message still stands, and it is up to us to carry on what Sister Lucia said about the 3 secrets of Fatima. These 3 secrets should be listened to and held in high esteem, regardless of what the hierarchy of the Church denied for a long time to the religious and laity of our time.
Okay, well, that's kind of that's a very condensed version of the events in Father Malachi Martin's his involvement. We'll do a bit more of a deep dive. I mean, I know you guys gotta, go and whatnot, but yeah, I'm gonna continue on and deep dive on this because there's a lot of very interesting information to be parsed out here.
Oh, I mean, it goes even deeper and deeper and deeper. That's what he said.
Yeah.
But yes, so
I
yeah.
I think it's so funny because it's highly debated what that third and final secret is. And it's because a lot of people think it has to do with the downfall of the Catholic Church.
Oh.
Which, if, the past few years, the Catholic Church hasn't been, in such great light,
Right.
if you know what I mean.
They've kind of had some we would call those issues.
Some issues.
Some dickling issues.
Yeah, among others. And there's a lot of very weird things going on here. So probably the most interesting thing to take away from this is just that the two people who believed this prophecy the most, one, of course, being Sister Lucia herself, who actually witnessed it, was extremely upset that what she witnessed and the information that she had was being actively suppressed by the church, by the church's hierarchy and their politics. And to that effect, the Pope's own exorcist, I mean, the Pope's basically the person who actually was the one who went out to actually do a lot of the on-the-ground research, the person who was actually in charge of a lot of very, again, boots-on-the-ground type of investigation, Father Malachi Martin. He was not well liked by a lot of the hierarchy because he did not like the church hierarchy. He thought that the church hierarchy and a lot of the politics of the church was actually setting the church back and holding it back from its real mission. So I take that very seriously because a lot of folks, I mean, I understand, I mean, everyone has their kind of their own preconceived notions and their own beliefs and faiths regarding how things go. But I think the interesting thing here is that politics. The politics are the problem. And we see this in our daily lives, and we even see it in the structures of religion. It's because the ideas are often, I mean, there's usually nothing wrong with the idea. I mean, let's look at Christianity, for God's sake. I mean, the concept of the New Testament is, some guy said, hey, wouldn't it be nice if we all just got along, and they nailed him to a bit of wood for it.
Yeah, essentially.
I mean, if you want to really boil it down, I mean, it's a lot of condension there, but
hey, let's all
just
hang
saying.
out and not judge each other. And they killed him.
I mean, it's
reasonable.
It's pretty simple when you get down to it.
I mean, it tracks for humanity.
Yeah.
How many times have we done that? Like to other figures throughout history, Gandhi, for instance. Yep. Sadat. Guy wanted to bring peace to the Middle East. No, you just sit right down here in front and wear something really brightly colored for us. Plaff! Yep.
No, just sit and wave. And a magic bullet will.
Yep. And don't forget the attempted assassination of the Pope in the 80s.
Oh, yeah, that too.
Yep.
Oh, Lord.
The moment that spawned the Pope Mobile.
The moment that spawned the Pope Mobile.
Stupid little box. Oh.
Yep.
Haters gonna hate.
Yep. So, I mean, again, it comes down to this idea that, I mean, the fundamental idea behind the faith is just, hey, let's just get along. And, try and act. I mean, it contains a lot. I mean, again, if you're going to boil it down a lot, I mean, it does contain a lot of information on parables and stories, allegory, metaphor, on the creation and the how to basically create and uphold a moralistic society. Fundamentally, that's the concept.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, there's some issues in translation with some folks, but
Mm-hmm.
when you really get down to it, you have this concept. And then what happens? We need structure. We need organization. And what inevitably comes out of structure and organization? Politics.
A dictator.
Power.
Power, money, and politics.
Oh, Lord. Well, on that fun note, I have to make my grand exit.
Well, it's great having you, Flux.
I appreciate you having me on. This was really fun. I want to come on when we do like a revelation discussion or something.
Oh, that is coming, definitely. We're going to have to definitely track into some of that. I'm still tentatively kind of thinking things out, but I am very much leaning toward next episode being a UFO episode.
Ooh.
So
Ooh.
I think we need to do a series of UFO episodes, starting with basically the Trinity detonation, the Manhattan Project. Go through.
When is anyone ever going to talk about the Philadelphia experiment? I've been waiting for Jeff to talk about that for like 6 years.
It is on my docket sheet.
Okay, well, someone needs to talk about it soon, because this book of unusual knowledge, its account of the Philadelphia experiment, I don't think is accurate.
Okay. I've never heard of the Philadelphia experiment.
Oh,
No.
It's very fascinating. So the elevator pitch of the Philadelphia experiment is that supposedly in the 1940s, a group of Army and military engineers decided to do a test with electromagnetic generation and try to find a way to essentially hide ships from radar using electromagnetic fields. The test ship in this case was the USS Eldridge. It was a destroyer escort. And the eyewitness accounts and very fascinating testimonies given that were quickly covered up
And
were that the ship disappeared from the harbor, appeared halfway around the world.
I thought it appeared up in Boston.
It appeared in Boston as well as in the Mediterranean.
Oh,
It was spotted in the Mediterranean Sea when it wasn't supposed to be there.
nice.
And then also, there's varying reports that it may have been spotted at a different point in time.
Holy shit. I didn't hear
And
about
then
that part.
it reappeared back in harbor, back at Norfolk. And the people, all the crewmen were melded with the
They
deck
were like
plating.
fused to the boat because they traveled through space and time, and when they came back, they were like fused as one with the vessel.
Yeah. All of the crew members died. And they were
All of them.
They were covered up. Their deaths were covered up.
They were killed in like duty.
Yep.
Why
They
is
were-
Isabel flipping me off? That's my question.
Apparently, I just accidentally flipped off the chat. Didn't mean to, guys. Sorry. I get very talkative with my hands, and I don't always pay attention.
Nah,
Isabel-
own it. Tell them you flipped them off. Say fuck you, chat.
Fuck you,
That's what I
chat. I love all of you.
I just remember this as an emoji and can't stop laughing.
I do
Yeah.
use that emoji a lot. I love that. It's best when sending to siblings.
Yep.
Love it.
But yeah, I've done a little bit of more research on the Philadelphia experiment, and when you really start to dig into that electromagnetic generation theory,
That's the
It
shit
has a
Tesla
lot of-
was working on.
they were using the same concept of Tesla and with his developments there, it is entirely possible that they could have been using something that they just did not understand fundamentally. But then also, if you read, again, this goes back to Bob Lazar, if you read how the craft he worked on supposedly works, this sounds shockingly like they were
Similar.
trying to reverse engineer something.
Mm-hmm. Which might have partially worked.
Might have partially worked, but
Time
the
travel is
accident...
not physically possible. Sorry, had to address that.
I'm with you, but I like to believe.
Well, one of these days I do have an episode coming up on the time travelers of MK Ultra, Project Montauk, and there is a very famous kind of online mystery, the case of John Teeter.
Is that the guy who is from
The 2038 Paradox.
Okay, maybe not.
So supposedly this man by the name of John Teeter appeared in 2000 claiming that he was a time traveler from the U.S. military from the future, and that they had basically never gone past a 32-bit operating system with their computers. And so he was looking for a specific computer, one of the original like Mac PCs that actually had the original time codes and the original code, because they had to reverse engineer that because apparently all their technology in the future no longer worked because they had never developed beyond a 32-bit operating system. John Teeter appeared mysteriously, gave out a lot of information, including blueprints for his supposed U.S. military time machine, and then, after apparently acquiring this computer, disappeared.
Interesting. All right. Well, I really gotta go.
These are all future episodes, but yeah,
Yes.
This coming up. I'm gonna start doing a deep dive on UFOs, starting with starting with kind of the history from the Manhattan Project, going into Roswell, and even the beginnings of Project Blue Book, and we're gonna go through that as we kind of go, and then just cover some very famous UFO cases. I've got a couple of documentaries that I've just stumbled across that we are going to start doing a movie night and do a couple of UFO documentaries. Very, very interesting. So definitely stay tuned for that. But I mean, yeah, we're going to continue on with this, but I got to let you go. Yeah.
Yes. You guys, I will still be listening because now I just have to, do my whole bedtime routine and all that stuff. But I will still be in the chat. I will be listening. You guys have a fantastic night, chat. And Mighty, Kaiser, it's been super fun. And I realized I've been saying your name wrong. I always say Kaiser because
okay.
I'm like dyslexic and shit. And today Mrs. Buck's like, you mean Kaiser? And I'm like, have I been saying it wrong? She's like, it's Kaiser. And I'm like, wow, I'm just a dumbass. But Kaiser.
But I've never corrected you on it.
You haven't. And I appreciate that greatly. He's always like, I appreciate you, man. You guys have a fantastic night. Be sure to like this video. Guys, we got to get these numbers up. We got to get these subs up. We got to get these watch hours up. Because
share the videos with your friends, because my birthday is coming up August 9th, and I want to hit 1,000 by August.
Coming up August 9th. That's like 4 months away.
That's so far away.
Yeah, that's not coming up.
Kaiser.
I want to hit 1,000 by my birthday.
Yes.
Because as soon as we hit 1,000, we're doing a 24-hour just fuck it stream.
Fun. All right. Well, you guys have a great night. I'll be in the chat listening. All right, guys. Night.
Don't forget your slogan.
Guys. Don't forget. Mocha Dick Poon XOXO fully adjustable blow for freedom pre-trial loin fire.
That just keeps getting longer.
That's what she said. Bye, guys.
Later.
All right, guys. I'm gonna actually jump out too. We'll take care of that stuff. So.
No problem. I figured that would be the case, so I'm going to go ahead and continue on here, but you have a great night, bud.
All right.
Thank you for joining.
Buddy. Thanks for having me. Good night,
Absolutely.
Chat. Oh, shit. I almost just hit end broadcast. That would have been
bad. Yeah, I'd have been a little shitty.
Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, chat. Excuse me, had to get that out there. All right, so we're going to keep continuing on here, but very awesome to have, my co-host Meaty and special guest Flux. If you haven't already checked them out, please definitely check out their channels. I know most of you come over from Mighty, but I'm just saying for anybody who might be catching this on the replay that doesn't already know, these are fantastic folks. They are good friends of mine, and I absolutely beg of you, if you do one thing today, aside from hitting the like button and subscribe button on my video, go over to their channels, like their videos, and subscribe to their channels. They are fantastic people, and I gotta say, I mean, it is fantastic that we're building this really cool community with all of you. So, that being said, let's get back to business.
I'm not wearing any pants. Film at 11.
All right. Had to throw that out there just to go ahead and do that. Hashtag pants or prison. Okay. So, we're going to do a little bit of an interesting dive here. Excuse me. All right. So what, when you get down to it, are the three supposed secrets of the Miracle of Fatima? Is Meaty gone yet? Think he can hear us? Famous Meaty phrases. Yes, he's already dipped out, but I'm sure he's watching or listening somewhere else. It's fine. And say, again. Anyway. And I'm going to apologize. My allergies keep getting me like really clogged up in my sinuses. So give me one sec here. There we go. Got that taken care of. Sorry. Ever since the unspecified virus of unknown origin, if I talk for long periods of time, I get a lot of like drainage and whatnot, so it makes it a little harder to talk. So, all right. So what are the three secrets behind the Miracle of Fatima? So the first secret, in her third memoir in 1941, Lucia stated that the first secret, a vision of hell, was disclosed to the children on 13 July 1917. Barbara, I've got both allergies and a cold as well. I sympathize. Yep. Too curio. Hot tea with honey. Yeah. I need to get on that. I usually take a little bit of this Flonase. Helps kind of dry me out a little bit. And actually, now that I mention it, had to grab a melatonin too. All right. Takes a while for those to kick into my system. Our Lady showed us a great sea of fire, which seemed to be under the earth. Plunged in this fire were demons and souls in human form, like transparent burning embers, all blackened or burnished bronze, floating about in the conflagration, now raised up into the air by the flames that issued forth from within themselves together with great clouds of smoke, now falling back on every side like sparks within a huge fire, without weight or equilibrium, and amid shrieks and groans of pain and despair, which horrified us and made us tremble in fear. These demons could be distinguished by their terrifying and repulsive likeness to frightful and unknown animals, all black and transparent. This vision lasted but an instant. How can we ever be grateful enough to our kind Heavenly Mother, who had already prepared us by promising in the first apparition to take us to heaven? Otherwise, I think we would have died for fear and terror. The second secret. The Second secret refers to the devotion in the Immaculate Heart of Mary and was initially only partially revealed to the children on 13th July 1917. Various prophecies related to this devotion were made, such as the statement that World War I would end, along with the prediction of another war during the reign of Pope Pius VI, should men continue offending God and should Russia not convert. The second half requests that Russia be consecrated to the Immaculate Heart of Mary. You have seen hell, where the souls of the poor sinners go. To save them, God wishes to establish in the world devotion in my Immaculate Heart. If what I say to you is done, many souls will be saved and there will be peace. The war is going to end, but if people do not cease offending God, a worse one will break out during the pontificate of Pope Pius VI. When you see a night illuminated by an unknown light, know that this is the great sign given to you by God that he is about to punish the world for its crimes by means of war, famine, and persecution of the Church and the Holy Father. To prevent this, I shall come to ask the consecration of Russia to my Immaculate Heart and the communion of reparation on the first Saturdays. If my requests are heeded, Russia will be converted and there will be peace. If not, she will spread her efforts throughout the world, causing wars and persecution of the Church. The good will be martyred. The Holy Father will have much to suffer. Various nations will be annihilated. In the end, my Immaculate Heart will triumph. The Holy Father will consecrate Russia to me, and she shall be converted, and a period of peace will be granted into the world. Anyone else drawing some very weird, what do you want to call it? Any correlations there? I mean, I'm just saying. It definitely brings up the question. So, when they talk of the consecration of Russia, is this so much of a... Again, I'm interested to see this. I mean, what everyone else's thoughts are, but I mean, could this be a, quote, concentration, as a consecration to give up communism? Is this a conversion to the Catholic Church? I mean, when you really get down to the wording, words are a fickle thing in various languages, and this is being translated from basically from sort of Portuguese to Latin and back to English. That makes for a very interesting, I guess you could say, structure to this concept. Hang on just one second here. Sorry, I had to blow my nose. All right. So, there's a lot to unpack there. There's a lot of questions. So, let's see here. In 1925, Sister Lucia reported an apparition of the Virgin Mary at the convent of St. Dorothea in Pontevedra, in Galicia. She said that she was asked to convey the message of the first Saturday devotions. By her account, a subsequent vision of a child Jesus reiterated this request. In 1930, she wrote to her confessor that in 1929, she had a vision of both Mary and the Holy Trinity in which God had asked for the consecration of Russia to the Sacred Heart of Jesus and Mary by the Pope in communion with all the bishops of the world. This later vision fulfilled what was said in 1917 about the Virgin Mary would come later to request the consecration. The message regarding the establishment of the devotion of the first 5 Saturdays is reminiscent of that reported by Margaret de Alacoque in the 17th century, which led the first Friday devotion. It is unlikely that this message was conveyed to the Pope, but the Bishop of Leiria suggested that she write her memoirs so that as to provide more details on her cousins as well as further details of the 1917 apparitions. In her third memoir, written in 1941, Sister Lucia recalled that the apparition of 13 July 1917, Mary had first mentioned the consecration of Russia and said she would return to give particulars. USSR collapsed and they've turned it into a much more religious country before you be killed by the government for being religious. Yep. Hang on, I'm grabbing something here. Okay, where the hell is all this coming from right now? Okay. I keep hearing the notification noise in my ear as I'm trying to do this, and it is annoying the ever-living crap out of me. There we go. Jugura, the only reason we're helping someone fight against someone bigger is so that the leader of the bigger country is made unalive and that kingdom will be divided as ours. I mean, it's not entirely, there's a lot of things to kind of like read into there. There's a lot of moving parts to this. How long after her visions did she start talking about Russia and who got to her? Well, that's the weird thing, because according to her information, like what she reported and whatnot, was that, again, this is all we have to go by, is at that time, like what she reported. Now, according to Sister Lucia, like her actual, I guess you could say, original apparition that she mentioned from 1917 specifically mentioned Russia. Now, I mean, that's, again, it's considered hearsay, because, I mean, we don't really know for sure. But, that seems to be kind of what is leaning toward. Barbara Vance, they want that kingdom divided among other nations. Well, yeah. And what's even more terrifying is that there actually was something mentioned to that effect. I believe earlier today I saw on Twitter. I gotta find it here. I'm pretty sure I might be able to find it here. Yep, there it is. So, this is interesting because this actually just dropped as of the 18th of April, only recently. So, this is just some wild leftist thing that was proposed on Twitter. Northern Eurasia 2023, after the final dismantling of the Moscow Empire through the complete decolonization of the so-called Russian Federation and the reconstruction of independent and free states of the post-Russian space. Here's what they want to propose: is all these different countries would have, basically a slice of the pie, so to speak. Yeah, it used to be a bunch of littler nations, i.e. Lithuania. Yes. Yep. And Jude Curious says, just like in the Bible. Excuse me. So again, this is just only a couple of days old. But this is already has people proposing that Russia needs to be divided up among all the other nations. Warning, danger, Will Robinson. Mexican Vader says, that looks like a horrible idea. Like Germany after World War II, it won't turn out well. Exactly. It's almost as if we've tried this before and it failed. So this up here, hypothetical map of a post-Putin Russia divided into 41 independent nations, created by the controversial Free Nations of Post-Russia Forum, which advocates for the decolonization, deoccupation, decentralization, de-Putinization, and yeah. Does make anybody else ask questions? Yep, imagine the new battles that would cause. Oh, indeed. Yeah. So again, there are people out there fomenting this idea. And it's a terrible idea. At least from a geopolitical perspective. Again, it makes you wonder. So, let's see. All right. It is unlikely that this message was conveyed to the Pope, but the Bishop of Leyra suggested that she write her memoirs so that as to provide more details on her cousins as well as further details of the 1917 apparitions. In her third memoir, written in 1941, Sister Lucia recalled that the apparition of 13 July 1917, the Virgin Mary, had first mentioned the consecration of Russia and said that she would return to give particulars. The second prophecy was not disclosed until August 1941, after World War II had already begun. Skeptics have questioned whether Mary in 1917 referred explicitly to Pope Pius VI, as Ambrogio Ratti did not choose that regional name until after his election in 1922. Further, the European portion of World War II is generally held to have begun on 1st of September 1939. And by then, Pope Pius VII had succeeded Pius VI. As for the conversion of Russia, the Bolshevik Revolution did not happen until November 1917. Some proponents of the Fatima prophecies argue that the secret did not say that the war must begin in Europe, and during the pontificate of Pius VI, Japan had already invaded China in 1937, which is generally seen by historians of China and other parts of Asia as when the Second World War actually began, a view which is also qualified support from some Western historians. Some critics argue that the Russian Civil War, 1918 to 1921, the Irish War of Independence from 1919 to 1921, the Chinese Civil War from 1927 to 1937, the war between Italy and Ethiopia, 1935 to 1936, and the Spanish Civil War, 1936 to 1939, serve to illustrate that the prediction of one war will end and another will start is not necessarily an indication of divine inspiration. Proponents of the prophecy will point out that the second secret called for a war worse than World War I, not simply any armed conflict. In addition, with the regards of conversion of Russia, there was already at the time strong revolutionary ferment in Russia before the Bolshevik Revolution, as witnessed by the earlier February Revolution of 1917, and the active communist and the anarchist movements, which would explain Mary's reference to 13 July 1917 to the need for a conversion of Russia. Let's see. All right. Doing a quick run through of this here. So this is interesting because as a result of the 2022 Russian invasion of Ukraine, Pope Francis announced that he would consecrate Russia and Ukraine in the Immaculate Heart of Mary. Guys, I'm just gonna say it's a little bit of it's got some alarm bells going off in my head. So, anyway, now we come to the most... Hang on a second there. I see this. Dog Mama just came in to say, not my Pope. Hey, Dog Mama, good to see you. That sounds awfully familiar, says Mexican Vader. Yeah. Almost like there's a pattern to something. Yeah, that's a weird bit. So, the first and second prophecies really are just mainly the setup. Because it's the third secret, the third prophecy that is actually garnered all of the confusion and the conspiracy talk. So, Sister Lucia chose not to disclose the third secret in her memoir of August 1941. In 1943, Lucia fell seriously ill with influenza and pleurisy. Bishop Silva, visiting her on September 15, 1943, suggested that she write the third secret down to ensure that it would be recorded in the event of her death. Lucia was hesitant to do so, however. At the time she received the secret, she had heard Mary say not to reveal it. But because Carmelite obedience requires that orders from superiors be regarded as commonly direct from God, she was in a quandary as to whose orders took precedence. Finally, in mid-October, Bishop Silva sent her a letter containing a direct order to record the secret. Lucia continued to struggle. Even after this direct order, according to Lucia, she overcame it after the Virgin Mary appeared to her in early January 1944 and said, "Write that which they command you, but not that which is given to you to understand its meaning." Or Write that which they command you, but not that which is given to you to understand of its meaning. Barbara Vance says, poor thing, I've had pleurisy. It's horrible. You are literally drowning. Ugh. That's not good. I mean, I've had pneumonia before, and that was no bueno at all. And from what I hear, this is worse. So, yeesh. All right. The third part of the secret was written down by the order of His Excellency, the Bishop of Leyra, and the Most Holy Mother on 3rd January 1944. In June 1944, the sealed envelope containing the third secret was delivered to Silva, where it stayed until 1957, when it was finally delivered to Rome. Canon Gambala, an advisor to the Pope of Leyra, is quoted in saying that when the bishop refused to open the sealed envelope, Lucia made him promise that it would definitely be opened and released to the world at her death, or in 1960, whichever came first. It was announced by Cardinal Angelo Sodano on 13 May 2000, 83 years after the first apparition of the Lady to the children in the Cova de Ira, and 19 years after the assassination attempt on Pope John Paul II, that the third secret would finally be released. In this announcement, Cardinal Sodano implied that the secret was about the 20th century persecution of Christians that culminated in the failed Pope John Paul II assassination attempt on May 13th, 1981, the 64th anniversary of the first apparition of the Lady at Fatima. The idea of an already fulfilled secret is contested by some Catholics. The text of the third secret, according to the Vatican, was published on June 26, 2000. So, there's a lot to unpack there. Now, what does the third prophecy actually say? We're going to get into that. But let's talk about some of the controversy surrounding it first. Because this definitely gets into it. Prior to the 1930s, the main focus of devotion to Our Lady of Fatima, which was at the time not widely known outside Portugal and Spain, was on the need to pray the Rosary for an end to World War I and for world peace. After the publication of Sister Lucia's memoirs, starting in 1935, Fatima came to be seen as presenting the victory of the Blessed Virgin over communism. On 18th February 1960, the Portuguese news information agency Agência Nacional de Informação published a news article stating that it was most probable the secret would remain forever under absolute seal. This announcement produced considerable speculation over the content of its secret. According to the New York Times, speculation ranged from worldwide nuclear annihilation to deep rifts in the Roman Catholic Church that led to rival papacies. On May 2nd, 1981, Lawrence James Downey hijacked an airplane and demanded that Pope John Paul II make public the third secret of Fatima. Yep, somebody hijacked an airplane and demanded the third prophecy be released in 1981. Barbara Vance says, pleurisy, it's inflammation in both lungs. They fill with fluid and have to be drained. I had pericarditis at the same time. Good Lord. Barb, I am so sorry. Oof, that sucks. Woof. All right. The release of the text sparked criticism of the Catholic Church in Portugal. Clergy as well as lay people were offended that the text had been read in Rome and not at the Fatima Shrine in Portugal, where the reported events took place. The Times for 29 June 2000 reported that the revelation on Monday that there was no doomsday predictions has provoked angry reactions from the Portuguese church over the decision to keep the prophecy secret for half a century. Critics of such as Italian journalist and media personality Antonio Soci claim that the 4-page handwritten text of the third secret released by the Vatican in 2000 is not the real secret, or at least not the full secret. The argument is based on the following. Written on one sheet of paper, the text on the third secret released by the Vatican is handwritten on 4 sheets of paper. Father Joaquin Alonso, official Fatima archivist for 16 years, reports that in his book that Lucy tells us that she wrote it on a sheet of paper. One sheet of paper. That is critical. Jude Curio, Kaiser, sorry, I was preaching on your dime. I'll behave now. It's just losing secret mixed squirrel today. Yeah, and I appreciate you bringing that up because I did actually want to make a mention of that. And I will try to remember to do a kind of a final cheers at the end of the show. But folks, while I didn't know her really, I mean, I do know that a lot of us in the LawTube community and the LawTube adjacent community did know Secret Mixed Squirrel, and yeah, she unfortunately passed away. And yeah, I know that a lot of the folks in the LawTube community are really hurting from that, and I definitely want to make sure I make mention of it, that my channel and everybody in my chat, we are, we definitely want to send our condolences and give our best to the families and those that are affected, because honestly, I don't feel like anybody that, at least in none of the circles that I've ever traveled in, has ever actually had somebody in the chat pass away, and it's kind of shocking for me that that's a thing. And from everything I've heard from a lot of folks, Secret was a fantastic person, a great mod, and just a really great, just a great person all around. And yeah, the community definitely takes a serious loss for that. So again, while I didn't really know her, and I don't want to sit there and try and make it out like I had any kind of big involvement there. I mean, I just want to make sure that I do express that to the family, to anybody she was friends with, and to the community of LawTube and LawTube adjacent. I seriously, I love all of you. I appreciate all of you, and I do pray for some peace to come out of this loss, this terrible loss. So I will try to remind myself at the end of the show to do kind of a quick little toast. But yeah, I want to make sure that I did bring it up and that I didn't forget. So thank you, Jude. You may have gone off on a bit of a rant, but it's okay because that's what the chat is for. I encourage discourse in the chat. Civil discourse is great, and that's the cornerstone of our society, and I always want more people to engage in it. So, you're okay, Jude. Thank you so much for reminding me about that, and I know, I think we're all still reeling today. All right, so I had to make mention of that before I forget. Trying to run a show is really hard sometimes. Thanks, you're sweet for the mention. I just do what I feel is right, and I think that again, all of us in the chats on the various channels all around, on YouTube, I think that we are all a community, and when we lose someone, especially someone that's so great and such a treasure to the community, it affects us all, and I think that I feel like I would be a jerk for not mentioning it. So, yeah, I had to say something. All right, so back to what I'm talking about there. So yeah, one of the main back and forth arguments that what was released to the public regarding the final prophecy, the main bone of contention that a lot of people have is that supposedly people that actually witnessed Sister Lucia write down the final prediction know that she wrote it on one single sheet of paper. The Vatican in 2000 published 4 pages. That's definitely a little bit interesting. So, one person who was in that room who knew the story and actually was there and watched her write it down was Father Malachi Martin. Now, also, Father Joaquin Alonso was the official Fatima archivist for over 16 years. He reports in his book, so he actually wrote a book on all this information. Lucy tells us that she wrote it on one sheet of paper, or on a sheet of paper. In taped interview, Charles Fiore quoted Malachi Martin as saying the following regarding the text of the third secret. I cooled my heels in the corridor outside Holy Father's apartments, while my boss, Cardinal B, was inside debating with the Holy Father and with a group of other bishops and priests, and 2 young Portuguese seminarians, who translated the letter, a single page, written in Portuguese, for all those in the room. Later in May 2007, Tarcisio Cardinal Bertone went on the Italian television program Porta and showed Lucia's document on camera. It was a single sheet of paper that had been divided twice, once vertically and once horizontally. Lucia's handwriting was on both sides of the sheet of paper. The vertical squares were what the Vatican reproduced in June of 2000. Written in the form of a letter, another reason why critics argue the full third secret has not been released is because of indications that the third secret was written in the form of a signed letter to the Bishop of Leiria, and the text of the third secret released by the Vatican is not written in the form of a letter. Lucia was interviewed by Father Jogan on 3rd February 1946 when Father Jogan asked Lucia when the time would arrive for the third secret. Lucia responded, I communicated the third part in a letter to the Bishop of Leiria. Also, Canon Gambala, an advisor to the Bishop of Leiria, is quoted in saying, when the bishop refused to open the letter, Lucy made him promise that it would definitely be opened and read to the world either at her death or in 1960, whichever came first. Antonio Sochi, however, questioned how strictly one would interpret the word letter. Contains words attributed to the Blessed Virgin Mary. The text of the third secret released by the Vatican contains no words attributed to the Blessed Virgin Mary. Sochi asserts that the third secret probably begins with the words, in Portugal, the dogma of the faith will always be preserved, etc., words which Lucia included in her 4th memoir. but which are included only as a footnote to the text released by the Vatican. Lucia stated, however, stated in her fourth memoir that she was not going to reveal the third part. Contains information about the apocalypse, apostasy, satanic infiltration of the church. In an interview published in a November 11th, 1984 edition of Jesus magazine, Cardinal Ratzinger was asked whether he had read the text of the Third Secret and why it had not been revealed. Ratzinger acknowledged that he had read the Third Secret and stated in part that the Third Secret involves the importance of novicism, novicimi, and dangers threatening the life of the Christian and therefore the life of the world. Ratzinger also commented that if it is not made public, at least for the time being, it is in order to prevent the religious prophecy from being mistaken for a quest for the sensational. Also, Howard D., former Philippine ambassador to the Vatican, was all interviewed by Inside the Vatican in 1998. D. claimed that Cardinal Ratzinger had personally confirmed to him that the message of Akita and Fatima are essentially the same. The Akita prophecy in part contains the following: the work of the devil will infiltrate even into the church in such a way that one will see cardinals opposing cardinals, bishops against bishops, churches and altars sacked. On 13 May 2000, Cardinal Sodano announced that the Third Secret would be released, during which he implied that the secret would be was about the persecution of Christians in the 20th century that culminated in the failed assassination attempt on Pope John Paul II on 13th of May 1981. In a syndicated radio broadcast, Malachi Martin stated that the Third Secret doesn't make any sense unless we accept that there will be, or that there is in progress, a wholesale apostasy amongst clerics and laity in the Catholic Church. In a 1980 interview for the German magazine, I'm not even going to try, but there it is. Published in October 1981, Pope John Paul II was asked explicitly to speak on the Third Secret. He said, this is an excessive quote, "Because of the seriousness of its contents, in order not to encourage the worldwide power of communism to carry out certain coups, my predecessors in the chair of Peter have diplomatically preferred to withhold its publication. On the other hand, it should be sufficient for all Christians to know this much. If there is a message in which it is said that the oceans will flood entire sections of the earth, that from one moment to another millions of people will perish, there is no longer any point in really wanting to publish this secret message. Many want to know merely out of curiosity or because of their taste for sensationalism. But they forget that to know implies for them a responsibility. It is dangerous to want to satisfy one's curiosity only if one is convinced that we can do nothing against the catastrophe that has been predicted." He held up his rosary and stated, "Here is the remedy against this evil. Pray, and ask for nothing else. Put everything in the hands of the Mother of God." Asked what would happen to the church, he said, "We must be prepared to undergo great trials in the not-too-distant future. Trials that will require us to be ready to give up even our lives and a total gift of self to Christ and for Christ. Though your prayers and mine, through your prayers and mine, it is possible to alleviate this tribulation, but it is no longer possible to avert it, because it is only in the way that the church can be effectively renewed. How many times, indeed, has the renewal of the church been effected in blood? This time, again, it will not be otherwise. We must remain strong and will entrust ourselves to Christ and His Holy Mother, and we must be attentive, very attentive, to the prayer of the Rosary." Joseph Cardinal Ratzinger denied that Pope John Paul II made these remarks during 26 June 2000 press conference and saw the publication of the third secret. According to one source, Lucia was allegedly asked about the third secret and remarked that it was in the Gospels and in the Apocalypse, and at one point even specified Apocalypse chapters 8 to 13, a range that includes the book of Revelation. 12:4, the chapter and verse cited by Pope John Paul II in his homily on Fatima on 13 May 2000. Okay. All right. Let me catch up to the chat here. Jukiri, it wasn't her. The real Lucia died. After that, she was seen only behind a screen and her face shape was different. Guys, Prime Apple sent you an article on that talks about Akita. Thank you. Kaiser, you sound so... He's like, you're so nasally. It reminds me of my son who sniffed from now till winter. It's cute. Poor baby. Did you... Their raccoon eyes dark circle. You give me a chuckle. Thanks. Well, thankfully, no. I mean, it's just my hat. But sorry about being nasally. And unfortunately, again, thanks to after effects from a certain virus that's been in the news lately, I got it back in November, and it took a long time for me to finally get fully recovered. And even then, I still have some after effects. If I talk for too long, and I don't have like sufficient ways of kind of like clearing out everything, yeah, it clogs up, and then my sinuses also swell. Still getting through that, but it is getting better. Flonase just does help kind of dry things up and whatnot, so I don't sound as bad. So, folks, yeah, I do apologize if I sound a little nasally. Working on that factor, and we'll just kind of go from there. Okay. Barbara Vance, there's a more recent article if you want it. Absolutely, that will be great. Okay. So, we've kind of covered this, so now... So the third secret supposedly is that... Oh, it was just about religious persecution of Christians in the 20th century. Okay, I mean... That doesn't completely ring true there. Barbara Vance, my son had sinus issues since getting the vid as well. Yep. Gemini the Witch. Hey, how you doing, Gemini? Only one reason not released. Destabilizes their power and control and exposes their tyranny and greed and power hunger over the church. Ding, 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 ding. Winner, winner. We have a winner here. Yep. I don't really have another ding, so close enough. The power of Taco Bell compels you. And I just realized we've been talking all this time, and I need to put up my banner. Excuse me. I'm clearing things out a little bit there. Hopefully that sounds a little better now. All right. So we've mentioned a little bit here about Father Malachi Martin. Let's talk about him a little bit more. He's been mentioned, but only in passing. And again, I think that's kind of a disservice because he's very instrumental to this story. Okay. Pretty sure Jeff would also never forgive me if I didn't go over it really in there, because he knows about Father Malachi Martin. So let's bring this in, and then we'll kind of talk about some of the minutia, bring it around, and we'll close out. So Malachi Brendan Martin, born 23rd of July, 1921 to July 27th, 1999, before the third secret was revealed, which is interesting because he was very much, he was actually there and actually knows when the letter was drafted. He saw the original copy of the letter drafted. And obviously he couldn't read Portuguese, but he literally listened to it being read with a whole bunch of priests, dioceses, and others inside the Vatican, and it apparently caused a big stir among a lot of people. So, let's see. Let's kind of give you a little bit of background regarding Father Malachi Martin, also known under the pseudonym of Michael Seraphin. He's an Irish-born American traditionalist Catholic priest, biblical archaeologist, exorcist, paleographer, professor, and prolific writer on the Roman Catholic Church. Ordained as a Jesuit priest, Martin became professor of paleography and Pontifical Biblical Institute in Rome from 1958. He served as secretary to Cardinal Augusta B. during preparations for the Second Vatican Council. Disillusioned by Vatican, I'm going to say the second. Martin asked to be released from certain aspects of his Jesuit vows in 1964 and moved to New York City. Martin's 17 novels and nonfiction books were frequently critical of the Catholic hierarchy, who he believed had failed to act on what he called the third prophecy revealed by the Virgin Mary at Fatima. His works included The Scribal Character in the Dead Sea Scrolls, 1958, The Hostage to the Devil, 1976, which dealt with Satanism, demonic possession, and exorcism, The Final Conclave, 1978, as a warning against Soviet espionage in the Vatican. Let's see. How come there aren't leaks from the Vatican? Well, there's a lot of speculation on that. But my thought process is the Vatican is a very, very old organization. You do not get to the positions that actually have access to this information without really not only proving yourself, but being a part of the club. And the club being, of course, you have to play ball with all the people within the actual hierarchy of the church. You don't play ball, you don't get invited to the party, that kind of deal. And my thought is between some of that and then probably some information that they could have gleaned, during their at whatever time, they could look at it as a threat to the actual structure of the Vatican and the Catholic Church. The vacancy has a swift way of dealing with treason within its walls. Yep. Yeah. Soviet espionage in the Vatican, Russia again, political coincidence? No, not at all. Especially when you consider the tensions between the Catholic Church and the Russian Orthodox. The Russian Orthodox Church is kind of its own separate. They pretty much are like, yeah, we're gonna take the book and go do our own thing. Yeah, I think they meant papacy as well, but didn't want to assume. All right, so this guy knows a lot of interesting information and has worked a lot within the church and even eventually outside of the church. Let's see. Excuse me. And yeah, so Jeff mentioned this. So in 1999, Malachi Martin died in Manhattan of an intracerebral hemorrhage 4 days after his 78th birthday. It was caused by a fall in his apartment in Manhattan. The documentary Hostage to the Devil claimed that Martin said he was pushed from a stool by a demonic force. Martin's funeral took place in St. Anthony of Peruta Roman Catholic Chapel of West Orange, New Jersey, before the burial at Gate of Heaven Cemetery in Hawthorne, New York. There we go. I had to fix something with my camera real quick. So, 3 Secrets of Fatima. Martin often spoke and wrote about the 3 Secrets of Fatima and was an ardent supporter of Father Nicholas Gruner's interpretations of them. Father Gruner is fulfilling a desperately needed function in an ongoing perception of Mary's role in the salvation of our imperiled world. Father Gruner is absolutely correct that the consecration of Russia, as Our Lady desired, has not been executed. According to Martin, the unreleased 3rd Secret of Fatima was that the Soviet Union would be converted to Christianity. Martin then claimed that in 1960, he was standing outside papal living quarters whilst John the 23rd, Cardinal B, and other church officials were reading a letter from Sister Lucia dos Santos revealing that secret concerned about Soviet cooperation at the approaching Second Vatican Council. The Pope allegedly decided to suppress the letter. Released by the Vatican in 2000, the 3rd secret letter did not mention Russia or the Soviet Union. Yep, Barbara Vance. Father Martin was a very interesting man, absolutely. Like I said, at the beginning of the show, I could do an entire show just on him alone. Yeah, what they'll say? Yeah, what they'll let him say it. Yeah, he pissed someone off. Yeah. All right. All right. So that's kind of the overall gist of kind of like that's just kind of giving you the basis for Malachi Martin and understanding kind of his role in this. Now, we'll do another quick little video. It's by the same Catholic 365 channel that we actually showed earlier. I'll kind of bump the speed up on this because they do tend to talk a little slow. I'll start it at 1.25. And I got to fix my audio. And okay, so I'm doing this a little bit on my end to kind of help because the other audio sounds awful to me, and I have to kind of fix it so it doesn't set off my ears. All right. So we will go ahead and watch this video here.
Garcia's last public interview took place on December the 26th, 1957, which she gave to a Mexican priest called Father Agustin Fuentes. After this interview, permission was refused for any other interviews, and she was completely hidden away until the end of her life. We're going to show you now what Sister Lucia said in her final public interview. Father, the Blessed Virgin is very sad because no one has paid attention to her message, neither the good nor the bad. The good because they continue on the road of goodness, but without paying mind to this message. The bad because of their sins do not see God's chastisement already falling on them presently. They also continue on their path of badness, ignoring the message. But Father, you must believe me that God is going to punish the world and chastise it in a tremendous way.
Sounds like some serious revelation stuff trying to start brewing there. Barbara Vance, so they prevented the USSR from becoming a Christian country much earlier on. Yep, sounds like they did. It's like they pushed it back.
The chastisement from heaven is imminent. The year 1960 is on us, and then what will happen? It will be very sad for everyone, and far from a happy thing if the world does not pray and do penance before then. I cannot give more details because it is still a secret. By the will of the Blessed Virgin, only the Father and the Bishop of Fatima can know the secret. Both have chosen, however, not to open it in order to not be influenced by it. This is the third part of the message of Our Lady, which still remains secret until 1960. Tell them, Father, that the Blessed Virgin said repeatedly to my cousins Francisco and Jacinta, as well to me, that many nations would disappear from the face of the earth, that Russia will be the instrument of chastisement from heaven for the whole world if the conversion of that poor nation is not obtained beforehand. Father, the devil is fighting a decisive battle against the Virgin, and as you know, what most offends God and what will gain him the greatest number of souls in the shortest time is to gain the souls consecrated to God. For this also leaves unprotected the field of laity, and the devil can more easily seize them. Also, Father, tell them that my cousins Francisco and Jacinta made sacrifices because they always saw the Blessed Virgin was very sad in all her apparitions. She never smiled at us.
So this kind of gets into a little bit more of... That kind of gets more into, like, what really did these children apparently see, which I realize we probably got ahead of ourselves and we didn't actually go into what the children's eyewitness accounts were. And yeah, I'll have to circle back to that. I realize we're going to we're Tarantinoing this thing, but yeah, I should have covered that earlier. We'll cover it though.
This anguish that we saw in her, caused by offenses to God and the chastisements that threatened sinners, penetrated our souls, and being children, we did not know what measures to devise except to pray and make sacrifices. For this reason, Father, it is my mission not to just tell about the material punishments that will certainly come over the earth if the world does not pray and do penance. No, my mission is to tell everyone the imminent danger we are in of losing our souls for all eternity if we remain fixed in sin. Father, we should not wait for a call to the world from Rome on the part of the Holy Father to do penance, nor should we wait for a call for penance to come from the bishops in our diocese, nor from our religious congregations. No, our Lord has often used these means, and the world has not paid heed. So now each one of us must begin to reform himself spiritually. Each one has to save not only his own soul, but also all the souls that God has placed on his pathway. Father, the Blessed Virgin did not tell me that we are in the last times of the world, but I understood this for 3 reasons.
Okay, real quick there. Jude, so they compared the pic in the lower left corner of the letter page and the pic of her alone and said not the same. Yeah, hard to say that one there. Yep, right there, the church has never wanted the people to act outside of the church. Yep.
The first is because she told me that the devil is engaging in a battle with the Virgin, a decisive battle. It is a final battle where one party will be victorious and the other will suffer defeat. So from now on, we are either with God or we are with the devil. There is no middle ground. The second reason is because she told me, as well as my cousins, that God is giving 2 last remedies to the world, the Holy Rosary and the devotion to the Immaculate Heart of Mary. And being the last remedies, that is to say, they are the final ones, means that there will be no others. Our Lady of Fatima wears a sad expression. Our Lady never smiled, she was always very sad. And the third, because in the plans of the divine providence, when God is going to chastise the world, he always first exhausts all other remedies. When he sees that the world pays no attention whatsoever, then, as we say in our imperfect way of talking, with a certain fear, he presents us the last means of salvation, his blessed mother. If we despise and reject this last means, heaven will no longer pardon us, because we have committed a sin that the gospel calls a sin against the Holy Spirit. This sin consists in openly rejecting, with full knowledge and will, the salvation that is put in our hands. Also, since our Lord is a very good Son, he will not permit that we offend and despise his blessed mother. We have as obvious testimony the history of different centuries where our Lord has shown us with terrible examples how he has always defended the honor of his blessed mother. Prayer and sacrifice are the two means to save the world. As for the Holy Rosary, Father, in these last times in which we are living, the Blessed Virgin has given a new efficacy to the praying of the Holy Rosary. This in such a way that there is no problem that cannot be resolved by praying the Rosary, no matter how difficult it is, be it temporal or above all, spiritual. In the spiritual life of each of us, or the lives of our families, be they our families in the world or religious communities, or even in the lives of peoples and nations. I repeat, there is no problem as difficult as it may be that we cannot resolve at this time by praying the Holy Rosary. With the Holy Rosary, we will save ourselves, sanctify ourselves, console our Lord, and obtain the salvation of many souls. Then there is devotion to the Immaculate Heart of Mary, our most holy Mother, holding her as the seat of mercy, goodness, and pardon, and the sure door to enter heaven. This is the first part of the message referring to Our Lady of Fatima, and the second part, which is briefer but no less important, refers to the Holy Father.
And there you go. That was the final interview given by Sister Lucia dos Santos. So, trying to find one last thing here. Trying to find, there is a very specific article that I'm looking for. And I may have lost it. I don't think I did. Okay, well, okay. I gotta jump into my history here, see if I can find this article. Where is it? So, all right. I can't find it. I've lost it somewhere. Damn it. So, the text of the third prophecy. There's a lot of speculation regarding it. We don't really know specifically what it said because we have varying reports of how long the message itself was. There's I wish I could find the article. I had it here earlier today, and it somehow did not make it into my show map. Oh, wait. Oh, thank God I did actually. Okay. Apparently not. All right. All right, guys, I'll be right back. I've got to go take care of something real quick. I'm going to put up a banner. I will be right back. I'm not done here. Okay, folks, sorry about that. I'm back. Sorry, I was a little bit overfilled with the gospel, so to speak. No, it's okay, Barbara. Just just a quick little aside. All right. There we go. And third secret. Nope, that's not it. I can't believe that I lost this text and I actually have it saved. It looks like a second copy of like another link got posted right over the top of it. Okay, here we go. There we are. I got it. Took me long enough to find the darn thing. So, this is courtesy of the Catholic News Agency. I do not know specifically how authoritative of a source they are regarding this. I would imagine that this is probably some kind of a website that is that is a independently owned and operated. So, again, take whatever you're going to see and hear in this with a grain of salt. So please understand that. But it is there has been a couple of articles that I've found in my research, this being one of them, that seem to suggest that the third prophecy was much bigger than we thought, and frighteningly sounds like something we're dealing with today. Fatima visionary predicted final battle would be over marriage and family. Now, again, I'm not trying to tell you folks, I want to make this absolutely clear. I am not trying to tell anybody anything about their lives, how to live your life, how to do anything. I am merely providing information that I can find based on a certain subset of trying to research this topic. I am, again, not trying to influence your decision making or tell you what you can and cannot do with your life. That is between you, the gatepost, and big man upstairs. So, folks, understand whatever I read in here. If you find it that you don't particularly like it, understand that I'm only giving this as kind of more information based on what I could research. Because there seems to be a shocking amount of information and stories related to this article and this information. So, again, just reiterating, do not take this as any kind of belief or anything like that I hold or do not hold or anything like that. I'm merely reading the information that I could find regarding the topic of this specific episode, the Miracle of Fatima. All right. And get your panties in a twist. Don't blame me because I'm just reading what I can find. So this was in Mexico City, Mexico. October 13th, 2021. Sister Lucia dos Santos, one of 3 children who witnessed the Marian apparition of Fatima, died in 2005. But before her death, she predicted that the final battle between Christ and Satan would be over marriage and family. So says Cardinal Carlo Carfara, who reports that the visionary sent him a letter with this prediction when he was Archbishop of Bologna, Italy. This reported statement by Sister Lucia, expressed during the pontificate of Saint John Paul II, was revisited in 2016 by the Des de la Fe from the Faith Weekly of the Archdiocese of Mexico in the midst of the debate generated by President Enrique Pena Nieto, who announced his intention to promote a same folks getting together union type of thing. Because I don't want to look, you can read it right there. Obviously for YouTube reasons, I want to make sure that I'm not treading over a line that I can't tread over. I mean, oh wait. I'm 2 hours, 45 minutes into the stream. Fuck it. So, yeah. President Enrique de la Pena, who announced his intention to promote same-sex marriage in this country. The Mexican Weekly recalled the statements that Cardinal Caffarra made in the Italian press in 2008, 3 years after the death of Sister Lucia. On 16th February 2008, the Italian cardinal had celebrated a mass at the tomb of Padre Pio, after which he gave an interview with Teleradio Padre Pio. He was asked about the prophecy of Sister Lucia dos Santos that speaks about the final battle between the Lord and the kingdom of Satan. Cardinal Cafaro explained that St. John Paul II, this is Pope John Paul II, he was later canonized to sainthood, FYI. Cardinal Cafaro explained that St. John Paul II had commissioned him to plan and establish the Pontifical Institute for Studies on Marriage and Family. At the beginning of this work, the cardinal wrote a letter to Sister Lucia of Fatima through her bishop, since he could not do it directly. Inexplicably, since I did not expect a reply, seeing as I had only asked for her prayers, I received a long letter with her signature, which is now in the archives of the Institute, the Italian cardinal said. In that letter we find written, a final battle between the Lord and the kingdom of Satan will be about marriage and the family. Don't be afraid, she added, because whoever works for the sanctity of marriage and the family will always be fought against and opposed in every way, because this is the decisive issue. Then she concluded, nevertheless, Our Lady has already crushed his head. Okie dokie. Cardinal Cafaro added that, speaking again with John Paul II, you could feel that the family was the core, since it has to do with the supporting pillar of creation, the truth of the relationship between man and woman, between the generations. If the foundational pillar is damaged, the entire building collapses, and we're seeing this now because we are right at this point, and we all know it. Okay. So, that's... yeah. And I am moved when I think about the best biographies of Padre Pio, the cardinal concluded. And how this man was so attentive to the sanctity of marriage and holiness in the spouses, even with justifiable rigor at times. Okay. And this was published, like Catholic News Agency, July 8th, 2016. Okay. So, we got some conflicting information there. So, we've got the division of Russia. We've got possible apocalyptic conflicts. We've got, to not put too fine a point on it, Tigay's. I'm just reporting what I see based on what I could find out there. There is a lot of speculation and not a lot of concrete evidence. Now, I do take the fact that Sister Lucia dos Santos supposedly said in 2005, before her death, that it would be that this would be about the final battle would be over marriage and family. Now, take from that what you will, because as you mentioned there, or as Jude mentioned earlier, they compared the pic in the lower left corner of the letter page and the corner of her alone and said not the same. So yeah, there's a conspiracy that she was replaced at some point, from what I understand. Padre Pio suffered stigmata. Ooh, that's an interesting case there. I hadn't heard that. So again, we have a lot of questions, a lot of not so concrete information. But what we do know is that ultimately, the third prophecy does revolve around some sort of conflict. Now, whether this is an ideological conflict or an actual physical conflict, that remains to be seen. The actual text of the third prophecy, I believe, is probably lost to time, or it's what was published by the papacy. We don't know. And that, because we don't know, makes us wonder. And it makes us always question, and we want to understand more. So, folks, there is a lot of things out there that we just need to kind of look at and understand. That we may not understand the true meaning of everything. We may not understand the true the third prophecy. But the fact that it's been hidden for so long, the fact that it was suppressed, it makes you wonder what really is in that, and if what we're getting is the actual facts. I have my doubts. Regarding Padre Pio, he also performed miracles. They say biolocation. Interesting. And they say biolocation. Interesting. All right. So, because I mentioned it here, and I think we need to definitely kind of go back to the beginning. Turn off dark reader. Whoop. So I can see this. God, that was blinding. Changes this dark reader thing changes my text color over on this window. I can't read it. But if I turn it off, it's freaking blinding. All right. So yeah, essentially these three shepherd children saw an image of the Virgin Mary, an apparent apparition that performed to them and gave them three prophecies, which came true and also drew a crowd. The sun apparently danced in the sky, or some sort of astrological event happened that scared the ever-loving bejesus, if you pardon the crassness of that remark, out of everybody. So, something clearly happened here. And because there's not a lot of it that's explained, that's why I like to talk about these kinds of things. Why I like to try and delve into the mystery and uncover things on the edge of reality. And it is with that, folks, I'm going to go ahead and close things out. We have been going for just under 3 hours. And we've covered all the material that I had, and I did not think it was going to take me 3 hours to cover all this material. But here we are. So, the Miracle of Fatima. Strange and very interesting. But for one thing we do know, something on that date of October 13th, 1917, something occurred. Something that was witnessed by thousands of people. And it's baffled a lot of people for a long time. Could it be something that is explainable with scientific technology and methodology? It's possible. Is it something that is unable to be discovered or discussed and understood with being in the boundaries of the faith and understanding of just having faith in a higher form, higher power? Also possible. Could also be aliens. Tough to say. Barbara Vance says, yeah, both Fatima and Akita say to pray the rosary. And actually, thank you for reminding me, Barbara, because you sent me an article. Okay. All right, we'll read this final article here. Our Lady of Akita, Japan, in today's crisis. Pray very much the prayers of the Rosary. On October 13th, 1973, the anniversary of Our Lady's apparition at Fatima and the Miracle of the Sun, she reportedly appeared to Sister Agnes Sasagawa in a convent in Akita, Japan, who in 1973 would see part of it unfolding today, 45 years later. Her warning is most dire. As Sister Agnes knelt in the chapel to pray the rosary, Our Lady said, "The work of the devil will infiltrate even into the church in such a way that one will see cardinals opposing cardinals, bishops against bishops. The priests who venerate me will be scorned and opposed by their confreres. Churches and altars sacked. The church will be full of those who accept compromises, and the demon will press many priests and consecrated souls to leave the service of the Lord. The demon will be especially implacable against souls consecrated to God. The thought of the loss of so many souls is the cause of my sorrow. If sins increase in number and gravity, there will be no longer pardon for them." Explanation of this Latin sentence coming later. During the apparition preceding this one, Our Lady told St. Agnes, in part, "Many men in this world afflict the Lord. I desire souls to console him, to soften the anger of the Heavenly Father. I wish, with my Son, for souls who will repair by their suffering and their poverty for the sinners and ingrates." There was more to her October 13th apparition at Akita. Our Lady actually began what she told St. Agnes with these words: "As I told you, if men do not repent and better themselves, the Father will inflict a terrible punishment on all humanity. It will be a punishment greater than the deluge, such as one that's never been seen before. Fire will fall from the sky and will wipe out a great part of humanity, the good as well as bad, sparing neither priest nor faithful. The survivors will find themselves so desolate that they will envy the dead, and the only arms which will remain for you will be the rosary and the sign left by my Son. Each day recite the prayer of the rosary. With the rosary, pray for the Pope, the bishops, and priests." A terrible, dreadful warning it is. At Fatima, Our Lady also warned of the possibility of various nations will be annihilated. Our Mother told us her children and the equivalent of not to play with fire. But did we listen? She reminds us with strong words at Akita. Have we listened? All right. If you skip to conclusions, hopefully I didn't. Choose Curio. Door number 3, read Daniel. Yup. Hey, Shinny. Hey there, my sweeties. I'm just getting around to clearing things up. You're about to go on my TV while I check all of the notifications. Well, glad to have you there, Shinny. We're actually kind of closing down, to be honest with you. All right. So, that is That is the prophecy of Akita, which directly seems to mirror, in a lot of ways, the Miracle of Fatima. So, folks, whatever side of the aisle that you seem to gravitate towards, I believe it cannot be understated that mysterious things have been happening in our world. Things rooted within faith. Faith that I'm not ready to discount. There are things in this world that science, technology, everything that we know has not been able to figure out, has not been able to explain. And that's a serious thing we need to take into consideration, that I think that it is very important for us to recognize that we really need to understand there is a fundamental lack of detail. Our lives are kind of chaotic right now. But we have we have these constant beacons and guideposts from a more moral society. Say what you will about them, and I'm not trying to convert you or tell you what you should and shouldn't believe. What I am going to tell you, though, is that there are a number of these incidents. They're very strange, but they happen. And could very well be that there may be something to this. I mean, who's to say... I mean, honestly, who's to say that, what is true and what isn't? I'm not here to say that. I'm not here to tell you what to believe. If anything, I'm just bringing you the information. Go out there, do your own research. Look into what is out there. Make your own assumptions based on the research. But most of all, do it based on fact. Don't believe everything that everyone tells you. In the words of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, in his case book of Sherlock Holmes, when you have eliminated all which is impossible, then whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth. And that is the very cornerstone of how we should approach everything in life. So, folks, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for coming out and watching the stream. And thank you to my my co-host, Mighty Meat, and to my special guest, Flux. It was great to have them on the stream. So, I know that they had their own various things they had to attend to, so it is totally fine. I'm just glad that they were able to make it out here and come enjoy the mystery. So, folks, just to give you a little bit of a heads up. So, after this stream is over, probably not going to see me much for the remainder of this week. I am going to be doing some things over the weekend, or Friday and the weekend. Not going to have a lot of access to my computer. And I do need to make sure that I take care of some things on my end. So, yeah, not going to be able to post much during that time. But I will be back on Monday with the palate cleanser. Probably do some stuff over, who knows, I might be, dipping into the chats on a couple of other streams. Who knows? But yeah, I'm going to be definitely busy this weekend. So Monday, next episode of the palate cleanser. Next Wednesday, which is going to be the 3rd, May 3rd, will be our next episode of Real Talk. And as always, I will definitely extend an invitation to the lovely Chandler Remington, see if she wants to join us. But yeah, I think we're going to actually try and aim for the next episode of Real Talk. Actually have more of a structured discussion. I think we're going to probably lean toward picking a genre and doing kind of a top 5 breakdown. So I think that'll be fun and kind of talk about some of our favorite movies in that regard. So that, or we might just do a movie night. Heck, I don't know. I keep threatening to do it. And Shinny Graham says, "Can I tell you I work way too much?" Yeah, it's okay. Thanks for covering this, from Barbara. I'm going to go try and build a chicken coop. Well, good luck with that. Good night, Dazzer. Thank you so much for that, and thanks for the good luck wishes on the trip. Shinny, I like Chandler on your stream. I do too. She brings a level of fun to this, and I always like having a co-host because I can sit here and talk to the camera, but I always enjoy having somebody to bounce stuff off of. Yep. And Jude says, "Thanks everyone for being here." Now, it's like now and later. Come back, hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done it, which I'm pretty sure you already have. Mostly talking to folks who find this through the algo and on the replay crew. So folks, thank you again. Have a great night. Love you all. And I will see you again next time on The Edge of Reality. You ever wonder why we're here? You ever notice that the information that we're being fed doesn't always add up to the truth? Do you ever look out your window at night when the rain's falling down? You ever look down the street and wonder what is going on around you? You ever look out at night and ask yourself, is this all that I am? Where am I? What am I? Is this all there is? Is this real life? As technology continues to bring us closer together, it also tears us further apart. We watch the skies and look at the planet around us and its natural beauty as it continues to march forward on and on and on, unending, unceasing, unwavering. And yet our world, everything that we've built, crumbles around us. We wonder, is this it? Is there more? There's gotta be. We can search. We want to learn. We want to understand. We want to see all that we can see, know all that we can know. We want to look out there. We want to peek behind the veil. We want to ask the questions that nobody will answer. We want to light those fires, the sparks that ignite a curiosity in us. And we ask ourselves, what is out beyond all of that? Beyond